Okay, let's try that again. Apparently trying to update my NVIDIA driver while trying to stream was not a good idea. So it decided to, glitch out on me. So hopefully no one was trying to join because the stream was down for a hot minute. But I'm back. Having a later stream because I anticipated company this evening and that kind of fell through due to situations outside of my control. So instead, I'm gonna go ahead and do some streaming so I can kind of end today on a good note. I'm basically finished with the Dreadnought I was working on, except for doing some airbrush stuff, which I'm really not feeling up to. Oh gosh, the camera is dead. Give me a second, guys. Let me see. Yep, camera's dead. So I was looking forward to doing some new little guys. Is it working now? Okay, that's working. Camera, are you working? Okay, now the camera's working. Fantastic. Working on these little guys. They're tin models, and I absolutely love how much personality is in them. I'm pretty much done with this guy, at least for now. I think I could do a little bit of highlighting and whatnot on him, but I feel like for what I've got, he looks pretty okay. I'll probably airbrush and paint the base a little bit to give it a little more personality, but that'll be something I'll do a little later, not right now. Right now, I'm currently all in on these. They're from Northumbrian Tin Soldier, I believe is the name, and this specific model line is called Guards. And I just absolutely love how they look. I love the amount of personality they have in their faces, and I love the weight behind them since they're all tin, or I think white metal was the term they used. So I love them. I can't wait to paint them. I originally bought them because I wanted to do a Turnip 28 army with them, and I just like how they look so much that I kind of don't want to change them. They've got so much personality and they look so good, even without kit bashing them a little. I think I might figure something to do with them after I get them based up. But I can't. I mean, look at this guy's face. Tell me that doesn't just ooze personality. He just looks so good, and he's got so much going on. I feel like I would be doing a disservice to the model by trying to cover his face up or to try and cover him up when he already just looks so darn good. So I'm going to go ahead and base coat another one, which is the first one I showed you guys. And then I'm probably going to go back and do some detail work on the short little guy with the absolutely magnificent facial hair. And even this guy, you can see he's got some tremendous personality in that ugly little grill of his. So I'm very excited to continue working on them. I've had a lot of fun doing the first one, and I feel like he's just going to be just as enjoyable of a paint job. So I've got to figure out what colors I want him to be. I think I'm going to try and get him to match a little bit with this guy, even though the clothing he's wearing is clearly different. Probably put him in all red with brown boots, and make him a little more plain, I guess. I'll have to figure out what color I want to do his cloak. It's gonna maybe patch mark it blue and buff colored so that it has the same patterning as the other guard. Mayhaps even just do striping like he's got with the frills of his surcoat. What I do know is that once I'm done with these guys, I'm going to dirty them up. They're going to look absolutely filthy, and so hopefully that will help kind of build the lore on them. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is work on some red for him. So let's go ahead and get to that, shall we? Gonna mix up some dark red. Or actually, I think the first thing I did on the previous guy actually was the skin on the face. I can get to that later. I'll do that next. But yeah, that first guy, I haven't had that much fun painting a model in a while, so I'm looking forward to not necessarily replicating that joy, but having an equal but slightly different joy in painting this other character we've got here. And so the kit came with I think, 11 models. It came with a large ogre kind of captain, I guess, master guardsman, head guardsman, and I think 9 of these little guys, maybe it was 11, and it came with 2 geese, which are actually what sold me on the unit. They've got these 2 great looking geese that are part of the town watch, or the village guard or whatever, and I loved how they looked so much that I bought the entire kit specifically to get those guys. And I realized that the rest of the models were had just as much personality as the geese themselves. So I'm pretty happy with the purchase. I'm pretty darn happy that I bought these guys, and I'm happy that I'm having as much fun painting them as I am. Northumbrian Tin Soldier has more models, and if you're in the United States, you can get them from Noble Knight Games, which is where I got this guy from. And I only know of them because of Brava Alphabusa talking about them and advertising them pretty relentlessly in his videos for Hunter the Parenting. So I'm happy that I found them. I'm pretty darn happy that that I was able to purchase from them and support them, because by all means they seem like pretty good guys, and I'm really happy to find out that they carry these models. And by far my favorite thing about it is that while I was looking at the other Northumbrian Tin Soldier models, we found one called the Boss, and we found out that that was the model that Alphabusa used to kitbash a very funny character in his battle report for Turnip 28. So it was just kind of fun providence seeing another callback to the thing that made us want to play Turnip 28, which led to this purchase in the first place. Now, yeah, there's just so much texture on this little hunk of metal, and it's got so much personality that I'm gonna have a lot of fun shading this guy and giving him some volume. So hopefully, once I get to that level, I'll be able to do him the justice he deserves, and I'll have this great looking, ugly little town guard with all sorts of personality. Now, I don't think I want to give him red pants, because on this guy, it kind of worked. He's got a red shirt and red pants, and then he's got, all these other colors that kind of break it up. But this guy just happens to be wearing a Roman Lorica segmentata over his basic underclothes, and I'm not sure how good that's going to look if I just paint all of his underclothes red. At the same time, I don't think it'll hurt him too much to just have fully red clothes. You know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and go for it. If I don't like the color, I might transfer it to like a dark green or something, which unfortunately will make him look very Christmassy, but I think for now it'll be okay. Maybe even do a very dark leather, which I can add some dark brown to him, and that should give his legs a little bit more personality than just red on red on red. Who knows? For those of you who don't know, Turnip 28 is a small, easy to play, quick to play skirmish game that I think tops out at like 30 models. And the idea of the game is that it's meant to be played in less than an hour. So it's a really quick game, but the general mood of the game is kind of both dirty and dark and beaten down, but also very silly and absurd. From what I understand, the premise of Turnip 28 is that there was a great apocalypse after the Napoleonic Wars, and part of it ended with a mysterious giant tuber root growing underground with like eldritch origins, I guess. And it led to an apocalypse that caused the entire world to kind of freeze and become post-apocalyptic Napoleonic era. And so all that's left are these roving bands of idiots and jerks and arrogant, wannabe warlords who get into scuffles and skirmishes over the dumbest things. So it's definitely got an absurdist bent that I find incredibly endearing, and I've heard it described as like grimdark Monty Python, and I really vibe with that, because to me it looks like Monty Python and the Holy Grail meets Warhammer Fantasy, and I think those are a great combination of things, and I applaud the guy for doing it. And to make it even better, all of the rules are available for free on his Patreon. So I just went and downloaded the rules and kind of looked at how the game is supposed to work, and kind of fell in love with it, especially because I have a friend who is very into easy games that don't have a million updates, and you can just kind of break out and play and just learn the game, right? And he also enjoys the kit bashing aspect of tabletop games, and really tried to get into a game called Gaslands, but he found the rules a little bit too crunchy and a little bit too esoteric, and it just became too much for him. So unfortunately, Gaslands kind of fell off to the side. But this one looks to be a game that he's very interested in playing, and I'm interested in playing it with him. And additionally, if I were to try and get more friends into it, it doesn't look to be very expensive, because it feels like you can just grab some... It doesn't just feel like it is. You can just grab some Napoleonic era minis, which are considerably cheaper than the likes of Warhammer, and make them hideous and give them tubers and other horrible, ugly outfits and growths, and just make them dirty. And if you do that, you essentially have a Turnip 28 army. I love the fact that there is no pomp and circumstance to the game. Everything has kind of gross and goofy names. Like, your baseline troops are called chaff, because they're clearly just simpering worshippers that are there to die for you. Your lead guy is called a Toff, I believe. There's a lot of terminology that I'm still not super familiar with. One of my favorite ones is that any cavalry you have, any mounted characters, are called bastards, which I just find very funny. So the game definitely doesn't take itself seriously, and that's part of the fun. One of the cults that you can be, because they've invented cults for you to get an idea of mechanically what you can do with your armies, is supposed to be an old cavalry officer who, on a night of drunken carousing, took a bet to lick a toad-shaped radish, and he slowly just became a corpulent little toad with delusions of grandeur. So now he's a sellsword that just talks about how great and awesome he is, and lives in a state of utter delusion. And mechanically, the way that works is they have rules for winning and losing an engagement, which is just like a single battle. A single encounter with another enemy unit, and his rule is like misplaced confidence or something. So if you win the engagement, your unit will think it lost, and if you lose the engagement, your unit will think it won, and that leads to a whole bunch of other, odd statistical things happening. So again, really tickled to try this game. That's not the army I chose for myself, but it gave me an idea of what to expect with the degree of seriousness and decorum I was going to have with my army, with my eventual unit. So I decided, and I'm still in the process of developing the army, I've decided that I'm going to have Madame Guaranteed Arson and her brats. And it's just a play on Mrs. Doubtfire. It's going to be an angry old nanny who is traveling the post-apocalyptic wasteland, trying to tutor or trying to guide kids to better ways of life. And it usually just ends up with her collecting as many awful, unruly, terrible children as she can, and having them go around to gather more of them. She just wants to have all of the Wasteland's naughty children so that she can, you know, raise them to be good, proper children. Of course, that just ends up being horrible, nonsensical violence, but that's kind of the fun. I better get back on screen, shouldn't I? So yeah, that's the general idea, and hopefully, when I play with these guys, when I actually get to play with them, it's going to be fine, it's going to be fun, but I need to actually get some units. And my original thought was I was going to use these guys, and I was just going to green stuff them and put a whole bunch of kitbashy, oh no, that's really wet, put a whole bunch of kitbashy elements on these guys to make them look like angry women and angrier children. But then I realized I really like how they look, and so I don't want to change them much. So what I think is going to happen is that they're going to become Madame Guaranteed Arson's like nanny stable, and so they're going to be the security officers that she employs to keep the children in line. So they are going to be dirtied up, and they are going to have horrible growths on them. But I mean, like I said before, this guy's face is just too good to cover up and put something else horrible on. So he's gonna stay as is. Speaking of, I think it's time I break out a flesh tone. Now, for the last character, I used Cadian flesh tone, but my Cadian flesh tone is so watered down that it's essentially almost unusable. It's so runny. But I think it actually turned out okay. It took many layers to get it to this level, but I think it's not that bad. I'm going to try instead with him, though. I'm going to use Brown Rose and see how that looks. It's going to create a slightly ruddier, pinker look to it, but it still definitely reads as like a peachy flesh tone. So we'll see how this goes. And like I said, there's going to be heavy shading and heavy highlighting with these characters anyway. So it's not like I'm going to have to live with this decision if it ends up being a bad one. I put a little bit of that on there. And when that happens, I'm obviously going to switch to a nicer brush. I've kind of beaten the tar out of this, this Citadel base brush. So I'm going to need to have something with a little more precision and a little bit better paint retention once I'm no longer just doing the broad strokes for painting up this mini. Okay, let's see. Is he still center? He's centered enough. So yeah, that's kind of the plan, is to get these guys painted up as nicely as I can, and then turn around and dirty them up as best I can without losing kind of the core charm in their sculpt. Because while I do think that the sculpt that Alphabusa and his friends did, and the kit bash they did for it turned out fantastic, I like these models too much. They're too good. They just sculpted them way too well. So I don't really want to get rid of them. I don't really want to get rid of what makes them so good. Okay. Let's make this ugly, tired-looking old man. Let's give him some color, shall we? Yeah, that'll do. And I'm gonna have to get rid of some of this coloring because it accidentally bled in where I didn't want it to. Which is fine. Yeah, that came up real nice. Okay. Now, my thing and my biggest problem is that I tend to try and chunk on these colors way too much in one thick, sturdy coat. And that's probably the worst way to put on paints, because it leaves streaks, it means you get sloppy. It definitely fills in the details way too much. So I'm going to try and do thinner coats for this guy, and hopefully that will work out a little bit better. That's what I'm working on now. I think in the case of his face, though, because of just how precise it is, I might have to be very, very careful here and go back in with a finer brush to get some of the more detailed marks on him. But yeah, once again, I didn't do much to this model. I just painted it and blocking in, and there's so much personality, there's so much going on with the character that he already looks really, really good. So, I did Zenithal Prime him, I'm not gonna lie about that. And I didn't notice that they had little elf ears. I actually have no idea what fantasy race this character is supposed to be. Because he's way too small to be an elf, unless the elves in this world are considerably smaller than humans. But, and he looks a little too gruff and ugly. Which isn't a bad thing, because there's definitely mythology and fantasy worlds with ugly elves. But this guy just looks especially gruff, if you know what I mean. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And go ahead and do that. And I think I'm probably going to hit a lot of him with a wash afterwards. And then go ahead and highlight from there. But I think that's going to be pretty good for the face. The next thing I'm going to need to do, I believe, is probably get his cloak. And that little... I think it looks like a bear sticking out of his pouch. Probably I ought to finish getting his pouch now that I look at it. I missed a spot. What I might actually do is paint the entire pouch, and the bear included, and then go back over the bear with a different color. I think that might be what I have to do. And that way I don't have to be quite so precise, and I can fill in some of the spots that it looks like I've kind of missed. But yeah, I'm loving how the acrylics look on this guy. I can't wait to finish him up, make him look fantastic. Let's see if I can get in there without making a mess. Yes, I can. And I'm gonna have to make sure to lacquer the hell out of these things to make them look really good. And see, that's kind of the fun here, is that even though he's only got like one base coat on him, he looks fantastic just because there's so much happening on the actual model. I feel like, unfortunately, as much as I love Games Workshop and how they do their models, they can't hit this level as consistently. They end up getting a little bit too much going on in their models, and that causes them to be very noisy in a way that makes them hard to read. Whereas with this guy, I feel like I clearly know who he is and what he's about. And I think Games Workshop used to be better at doing that, and they kind of lost the plot a little bit once they got out of Finecast and were able to actually do very, very high-level, high-detail models. And there's nothing wrong with that. Their current models look fantastic, and they're basically statues at this point. But it makes it so that they don't read as game pieces to me anymore. They read as like collectible statues. And that's a personal thing, don't get me wrong. But it definitely shades how I approach the game now. But let's see, what else have I got? I'm gonna go ahead and attempt the cloak. I don't freehand very well, so we're gonna see how this plays out for me. It's just basic blue and khaki striping on the back. I think what I'm gonna do, actually, I just saw a video on freehanding a checkerboard on like a Terminator backhand. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm not going to do that because I don't feel like spending that much time on these guys. But I think I'm going to hit his entire cloak with this khaki first. And then I'll try and freehand in the blue stripes. That feels like that might work a little better. And if it doesn't, that's fine. It's a metal mini. I'll just strip it and try again, or paint over it. If it does, then I have taught myself a new skill. And that means I've got to go back to a bunch of Terminators that I've painted and give at least one of them an ultra badass checkerboard on one of their power fists. Speaking of the power fists in the 40K, I will honestly say that one of my favorite things about 10th edition is the new scaling. I know that it makes some units a lot less useful for what they used to be good at, but I feel like it allows a lot more diversity of the weapons in the game and a lot more flexibility. Power Fists just used to be almost auto-includes in the armies that I ran, because Strength 8, did quite a bit of work against almost everything. They were the heavy hitters. I felt like you didn't really need to take las cannons or dedicated anti-tank when you had something like Terminators with Thunderhammers or Power Fists that could basically just rip it apart. But that also kind of limited the gameplay a lot. So the fact that they're still Strength 8 and they still do horrible things to infantry is nice, and that they can attack but not always be as successful against vehicles is really nice. And I think it opens up the game to diversify your army a bit. And I think that's kind of cool. I might need to swap over to a better brush unless I just get really lucky. Well, you know what they say, better lucky than good, I guess. And this is going to take a couple coats. You can clearly see that the khaki is not really doing a great job of coverage, and that's because it's a very thin pigment. So I'm going to need to do a couple of coats for it to actually read with a better material to it. Or with like a more smooth coat. That's the word I'm looking for. Because yeah, you can see how splotchy it is on the back. Hopefully I can fix that. And actually, to be honest, I'm not really in the Warhammer category. So what I might do is switch categories over to either art or just chatting. I'm not sure which yet. I think I'll switch over to art, because technically this is a form of art, and I don't think it's really fair for me to look in the Warhammer community when I'm not painting Warhammer products. I'm just kind of mini painting right now. Also, Crew Scale Dreadnought is not the name of the title. Guards. Miniature painting. Unfortunately, this is not going to take, so I'm going to have to rename it eventually. But hopefully that updated at least for now. So yeah, just going to go ahead and continue painting this guy now that all of this is dried. Try and get a slightly smoother blend, or a slightly smoother coat of this, this khaki color. And we'll see how that looks. Because right now, it is very, very rough. And on the undercoat, I'm probably going to try and paint some of the shadowier areas with a darker brown to imply that it is a darker color. Or I might just keep it that really nice, brilliant bone color, and that way it'll just pop more against his red clothing and his silver armor, gunmetal armor. I will eventually go back to true metallic metal and do what I can to make the metal in his armor look a little bit shinier, because right now it looks a bit rough. But I think we're gonna be okay. And see, I am using a very ugly brush with a very ugly tip to try and hit some very precise spots. So I probably don't want to actually do that. I'll go back and hit this with a much nicer brush in a bit. Actually, that's probably not going to happen tonight, because after I'm done painting, after I'm done basing this guy, I'm going to go back to my other guard unit or model, and I'm going to start doing some detail highlights on him, which unfortunately are probably not going to be super visible on the camera, but I'm going to take some pictures so that viewers will be able to see much more clearly how much better detail I'll be getting out of it. Okay, a little bit in the cape hood. Gosh, what a great model. I really dig this model. Okay, so that's gonna happen. I think also I should probably, I'll have to look at how to paint a lantern, because I haven't actually seen a lantern in a while. I do know that there would be, say, a candle in the middle right here, but then I'm not really sure how you would express that candle glow in the actual glass of the lantern, but I do want to do that. I suppose, though, what I should do is, because he's technically kind of based in now, I'll go ahead and paint on the stripes a little later, and I'll be doing that with a much finer brush, which should give me considerably more control than what I currently have with this beat-up thing. Let's go ahead and hit this one more time, just to really get in there and really get a uniform coat. Because right now, it's still looking a bit scrungly, and not in a good way. There we go. And so he's at least done to an acceptable level. I feel like I can... Hey, Swedish Muppet guy, how's it going? I feel like, Oh, wait, no, I gotta do the little, dead pig? I think that's a dead pig. That might be a dead pig. Thank you, I appreciate it. These are from Guards from Northumbrian Tin Soldier, and I love the shape language on these guys so much. They're so distinct. I think he's got a little dead piggy in his pouch, which is horrifying, but in a good way. So I think I'm gonna have to include some pink in there, and I'll build up and down from there. This is the second one I'm painting. I have another one that I've already started and base coated in, and so I'm going to be spending some time. Never heard of them, but the mini looks nice. Yeah, neither had I. What actually turned me on to them was on Twitter, of all places. Someone had bought their own, and they had two very angry geese as part of the guard unit. And all I could think of was, I need those geese, because they're hilarious. One has a bell, and one is in a breastplate and is loudly squawking at whoever its victim is and rearing to attack. And I thought that was just too damn funny. So I was like, I gotta get these. And I found out that a retailer in the United States has a stock of these, but they only had the Guards unit, which was a collection of, I think, 10 guards and the 2 geese. And so I bought it, and while I mainly got it for the geese, I am incredibly impressed with the guards. Give me a second. I can show you the geese. Okay, so we're gonna put that off to the side. We've got this lovely individual right here, who I'm going to paint up like a Canadian goose, because as my wife tells me, they're really mean and aggressive. So it's going to be really funny to see this guy painted as a Canadian goose. And this one, this is basically the goose from Untitled Goose Game. I don't care what anyone says. So this one's going to get a white treatment, and he has stolen the bell from a neighbor's backyard, and that's just going to be his thing. Now, originally, I was going to paint them and kit bash them pretty heavily to work in the world of Turnip 28, but I kind of like the models too much, and I don't want to ruin them by kit bashing them. So I think instead, I'm going to make them a little dirtied up and a little mucked up, but I'm not going to make any gross changes to them. And that way, they can be part of my Turnip 28 cult/army/gang of miscreants. But I'm going to have to find another source of units of models to make my actual army. And what I'm probably going to do is, my idea is to... Hey, Cotton FAC, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. My idea is they're going to be basically Mrs. Doubtfire and the kids, but awful and British and dirty and tuber themed. So hopefully that'll end up looking real good. Thank you, I appreciate it. These are from Northumbrian Tin Soldier. I'm very in love with this model. I just love how tired and bushy he looks. And I'm not done with him yet. I actually didn't even realize that I forgot to get his ears. But I'm gonna base coat in his ears and the little wrap around his spear haft, and then I'm going to really go in and start shading the ever-loving bejesus out of this guy, because I love these models and I want them to look as good as possible. Is that piggy dead, or is it his little pet? I don't know if the light will show it, but I'm pretty sure it's dead. It looks like it's got stitches over where its eyes are. So I guess he found it and it's his snack? I don't know. What type of plastic is it and how much do they cost? They're not plastic, actually. They're tin, I think. They're white metal is what it said. And the unit of 10 that I got, which comes with like 9 of guys this big, and it could be his blind piggy friend. 9 of these guys, an ogre guard who's captured a halfling who was stealing something, and the 2 geese, and a set of polyhedral dice was $40. And then with taxes and shipping, it was like $50 total. And I'll be honest, $5 for models that look like this, that was a steal to me. I'll even pause for a minute to show you. This is the big ogre guard, and again, he's ugly as sin, but he's ugly as sin in a really charming way. And you can see he's got the little halfling. There's a spilled coin purse on the ground. He's just a great looking model. I will say that's actually quite cool. But are they hollow or filled? I think they're filled. Like they're in a mold. They came out in a mold, so they've got a lot of heft to them, and I love that substantial feel. I will say that they did have a lot of flashing, and so I had to do a lot of prep work to make them look that good. I had to scrape off the mold lines. I had to clip off some of the flashing. I definitely had to pin the big guy when I glued his parts together because he was just so darn heavy. And when I super glued him, and I Zenithal sprayed them by hitting them with a black primer and then hitting them from above with pale sand as an overspray with an airbrush. And you can kind of do that with a spray can, and it's fine. But that's how I did that, and that's why these guys have like such a striking set of contrast between the shades and the lights. And again, just like look at these models. They've got so much personality going on for them. So I'm excited to paint them up, because after I do that, I'm going to grime them up and make them look like they've been walking around in the mud for 20 years. So that's the eventual plan. Now, I made the mistake of using this very buttery Cadian flesh tone because I over-thinned it when I put it in a dropper bottle. And while that does allow for some really nice blending, I'm just trying to get a base coat on this guy. So I'm going to have to do like 8 layers. Good morning, Red. How's it going? It's 7:50 where I am right now, PM. But I'm assuming for you it's past midnight. How are you doing? What's going on with you? I'm just trying to unwind after a fairly exhausting day of work by painting some ugly British soldiers. Well, fantasy British soldiers. So, hopefully these guys are going to look as good as they do in my head. Because the actual original paint scheme that they had for them on the box art, are they good starting units for starting to paint? Because I wanted to get into painting, but I don't know a lot. I'd say yes and no, because there's a lot of personality in each model, but I would say no because tin metal models are generally harder to kind of get paint ready. At least that's been my experience. You kind of have to do a lot more to get them ready to paint. Reaper Bones, Reaper Miniatures, they sell plastic models for like $2 to $3, and those ones I think are fantastic for getting started. If you give me a second, actually, I'll be right back. Apart from a certain 16-year-old giving me high blood pressure because of his attitude, I'm all good. I know, the teen years are exactly that. One moment, please. Oh yeah, actually, I've got them right here. Reaper Bones does like stereotypical fantasy units, and they're great for D&D. They're great for that kind of thing. And I did their Kickstarter a couple years back, and so I've got like this character right here. This is plastic, which is absolutely fantastic for a lot of things. It's lightweight, it's cheaper. You have one metal orc, and it's kind of tough to get the mold lines off. Yeah, you kind of need a metal emery board at that point. But as you can see, they've got quite a bit of detail going on. I know, right? It's a great looking Plague Doctor. And the best thing about it is that because it's plastic, they're pretty durable, right? If this drops off of your table, you don't have much to worry about. If I were to drop this off my table, I'd be terrified that it would shatter, since it's made out of a fairly weak metal. And, whoop. Like, this is another one. This is the sister Plague Doctor. Same thing, made out of plastic. She'd be about $2, $2.50, maybe $3, I think. I painted her before I got really good at, like, scraping off mold lines and whatnot. So, you kind of still see them. This came with the Kickstarter. This was an Axolotl Adventurer. And this one has just been primed. I haven't been brave enough to paint it yet. But you can see this still has a whole lot of detail going on. It's perfect for painting a mini for a D&D game. I know, they're really cute, aren't they? And a more humanoid one. This is a Lanzknecht. I think that's what she was called. She had the option of either having her helmet or having her bareheaded. And since I feel like there's not a lot of really good female representation in minis that aren't just like Booba, I was really happy to see her in full armor with a giant-ass two-hander and just in general looking cool. But what is the price of the Plague Doctor? I got him in a Kickstarter set, but I know for a fact that they sell the Plague Doctors for somewhere below $4 on their website. Reaper Bones. Let me do this. I think they're based out of Reaper Mini, reapermini.com. I'll post it in here, guys. So one moment, I can do this. I'm gonna do reapermini.com, and I'll post it in my Discord as well. reapermini.com. They ship from the US, the UK, from the UK to the European Union, and to Australia from the United States. And if you go into their figures, they have a whole lot. They have Reaper Legends plastic, Dungeon Dwellers plastic, Bones USA. They've got a whole ton of models. And my understanding is that the newer models are made with a more durable, kind of more substantial plastic that's also very lightweight. And yeah, they look fantastic. Actually, you know what? Since I'm doing the thing, let's go ahead and just do a window capture so you guys can see what I'm looking at. There you go. And so the main website, this is the American one because I'm in the United States, but you can choose the currencies. Did I make this small enough? Give me a second. Window capture. Oh man, that's way too big. Can I make you smaller? Window capture? Where'd you go? I broke it. Give me a second, guys. I'm sorry. There we go. And I'm gonna have to help. I'm gonna have to make the window considerably smaller because it's huge. There we go. That'll work. Combat Patrol only turned up today in Swedish. Wow. So yeah, they have the figures over here. They do have metal figures if you really like them, but they also have all of their plastic figures here. And they have fantasy ones, they have sci-fi ones, they have official Pathfinder minis. The Legends, I believe, and the Dungeon Dwellers are made of a better plastic. So you can get some great looking models, some great looking minis from them. And it looks like they're a little more expensive than I said they were, to which I apologize. I thought they were cheaper. Let's see. What about their basic bones? Oh wow. Yeah, like look at the Dargon. Look at the dragon. That's a fantastic looking dragon. I didn't realize that they sold some of these things. Well, let's go back into bones plastic. Go a little bit cheaper. 3 female ghosts are $9. Charon, Lord of the Styx, is $4. So yeah, that's about the price they have. Let's find specifically the Plague Doctor, since that's the one. Yeah, there we go. Sister Hazel, Plague Doctor, she's $7. Brother Lazarus is $7. And I think these ones are the metal ones. But again, they're great models. If you like them, reapermini.com, and then you can choose what region you're in. I really like them. I think they're great D&D models. And like I said, I would really strongly suggest you go with plastic as opposed to metal for your first minis, because if you do metal, they're more of a hassle to put together, and they're considerably more of a hassle in terms of fragility. So stick with the stick with the plastic first. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and really start working this guy with the volumes. Because right now, he looks good, right? Like, that's a great looking model, but I can do better. So I think first, because I almost forgot, I'm gonna give his ears one more coat with the really, really watered down, buttery Cadian flesh tone. I'm in focus. Anvil Industries are good for minis as well. I always forget about them. I've never bought from them, but I'll take your word for it because you have really good judgment on that kind of thing. When you showed me the Plague Doctor and I started to remember, I have a friend that loves the Plague Doctor, so it would be a fun idea to give it to him as a present. Yeah, I mean, that's what makes these great, is they're nice, relatively cheap minis that you can gift to someone, and because they have such a diverse portfolio, you've got a lot to choose from. I guarantee you're going to find one that you like. When I was first looking at this stuff, when I was first getting into D&D, I remember I had, like, literally $100 worth of minis I was ready to buy. If I go AFK and quiet for a while, it's because I'm doing some cleaning and redoing my room layout at 2 a.m. Fair enough. I mean, the desire to clean can hit at the strangest times. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead, paint this up so it looks kind of like canvas. Like just cloth canvas to wrap around here. And then, looks like the ears have enough paint on them. Then I'm gonna go ahead and switch to a smaller, finer brush that will allow me to hit more precise brush strokes. Okay. I don't know, I've definitely done some strange cleaning habits and the like. And I guarantee you, if you do plan on getting a miniature for a friend, it's always a good gift. I've never been sad or upset because someone gave me a mini. It's always been one of those things where like, oh, cool, a mini. Another good place to look, though it is considerably more expensive, is Hero Forge. Oh, okay. Cotton FAC is a buddy of yours? Well, cool. Thanks for hopping by. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and up here, just give it a little bit of shadow underneath the armor with a darker blue. Yeah, Hero Forged is very expensive because they allow you to create custom minis, right? And when I say custom, I mean custom. You can change pretty much everything about them. And to buy one, it's like 20 bucks, 20 US dollars. And that hurt me in the wallet when I first heard about it. But what really makes it great is that you can make a profile for free. And then you can just go ahead and make the mini and color it up. And then just save the image and be like, yeah, this is my D&D character. They can't stop you from doing that. The other thing I like about it is that they sell their STL files, their 3D printer files. For the one you were going to buy was $45. Yeah, you were probably going to get one of the really nice ones that's made with the colored resin, I'm assuming, or the colored plastic or whatever. And that does tend to cost a considerable amount more. If you were to buy it unpainted, I think, and I could be wrong since it's been a few years since I bought from them, I think they're still at like $20. You're gonna go pink again? Okay, neat. But yeah, their STLs are like $7 or $8. So if you know someone with a 3D printer, or you have a 3D printer, then you really can't go wrong. And since I have a 3D printer, I really can't go wrong. It's definitely worth it. One of their bigger ones for your Goliath D&D character. Ah, yeah. I'm assuming that production costs for printing larger characters definitely makes them go a little more expensive. But yeah, I haven't actually been on the Hero Forge website proper in many moons, so I have no idea what their pricing model is like. Do you have any other like scary miniatures such as the Plague Doctor? I'm not really sure if I'd say that. I'm really big into Warhammer, and normally I stream on the Warhammer channel, but I'm streaming on this one because I'm not painting a Warhammer. And so I guess you could say that I have scary miniatures. in that way, because I have things like the Death Guard, which are the zombie Space Marines. Atlan Forge is really good. Puppets War is really good. They have great models. So I have like zombie models, and I have some monster models. I'm actually painting a set of Tyranids right now that came with the Leviathan starter box set. And I guess you could call them scary. I think they're kind of gross. A basic Tyranid looks like this. This is, I think, a Termagant. Gearguts Mech Shop. Oh, so cool note. He actually hopped into my stream a few months ago. So it was really neat to see him. And yeah, he's got some neat stuff. So this is a Tyranid. I don't remember which one. I think it's a Termagant. It's got the gun. Again, he's just been Zenithal primed. I haven't done anything with him. And my general plan with them is I want to paint them to look like the Phyrexians from the newer Magic the Gathering set where Elish Norn led the Phyrexians to do bad things. And so I've gone with a bone white kind of carapace and a very brilliant red body. It looks like the aliens from Alien Isolation, but with a gun. I mean, they're kind of based on that. They're based a little bit on the bugs from Starship Troopers. They're based on the Zergs from StarCraft, and definitely the aliens from Alien. But yeah, like this guy, he's a little bit more complete. He's not quite done. But this is kind of the paint scheme I want to go for. And these are meant to be at, I think, 32mm scale. So I believe this would be about accurate. He would be about the size of a human. Yeah, and Tyranids are a really neat army. I just don't have the money to buy them. So yeah, they're pretty big. But yeah, the coolest thing to me is the HQ units, because that's where they get to do some really neat stuff. Like, this is a winged Tyranid Prime? I always forget. But you can see, really big guy. And again, against an average human being, he's kind of monstrous. He's kind of huge. And this is the smallest like character unit that I have of theirs. They just keep getting bigger. So they have one unit called the Psychophage. No, I don't remember. Neurotyrant? One of those. I forget the names because they're all crazy. But I love how this model looks. It looks like a brain bug got attached to one of them, and now it's just this horrible floating monstrosity that just is. I mean, if I were to walk up to this thing, I might just lose my mind. And so they're absolutely terrifying. I can't wait to paint this guy. And that's not even the biggest one. They have this thing called a Screamer Killer, which they basically redid the model, and you can see it's absolutely huge. And so he's supposed to be one of the bigger ones. They can't copyright Guard. That name's a little too generalized. Yeah, no, Red's just being fun, just being sassy because Astra Militarum is a dumb name. So yeah, these things can get really big, and that's kind of the fun, is having these great set piece models. You really like the military theme, so you're probably going to choose them. They're great. I've got some of them. I haven't done anything with them because they're not actually mine. A friend who bought them left them at my house because he used to come over and paint, but he hasn't been over in a while, so I started painting them. So like, there's a Commissar. This is what a Commissar looks like. This is the old model of a Commissar, I believe. And painted him up before I got really good at it. So he's a little bit rough looking, but, you know, still looks pretty good. And then you've got, like, the basic troopers. Yarrick lives on in our minds. This is the old style of trooper that they had. They definitely look... They re-released the Cadian trooper line so that they're more true scale and so that their proportions are better. I honestly like the old ones more. I think they've got more character, but that's just me. But yeah. Imperial Guard is definitely a really neat army. Okay, I'm gonna go back to painting this lad. I think since I'm already started with kind of a warm color, I'm gonna keep doing warm, so when I go into the highlights at the edge of his surcoat, he's going to have slightly brighter edge highlight. And hopefully this will still look okay. Yeah, that should look fine. Just a little dabby do of the brighter color at the edge to impress that there is a border here. And a little bit of extra light. Yeah, I think you did. You showed me your guard. It was a while ago, but I remember being pretty impressed with the models. I thought they were super neat. I've only been in the Warhammer hobby for a couple years now. I think 3 or 4, and so I still get really excited to see other people's models and other people's armies, because the only way I really get to engage in it is by watching YouTube content creators, and you know, those guys clearly are on a whole nother level of creativity in a lot of ways. So getting to see what fellow gamers are doing with their armies and how they're trying to make them look, and their vision for them, it's always a lot of fun. Yeah. That's part of why I created that Discord, right? It was so that people could post up with what they're working on or what they've done. And that's always been one of my favorite parts of this. Because at the time I was like, I don't know about a Discord. I'm like a micro person on Twitch. There we go. And so that should create a decent enough contrast. You're probably going to hop off since it's getting late, but thanks for the recommendation and tips. No problem. Glad to help. Thank you for joining in. Soon you'll be posting the Tau and the Bears. Well, congrats on getting those done. I ended up trading my Tau for a bunch of Leagues of Votann, and honestly, I couldn't be happier with it, because I was able to paint up all my Votann as Among Us, but I don't want them anymore, and I'm looking to sell them soon. I keep meaning to post them on classifieds, but honestly, I keep forgetting. But I'd rather have the money to go towards my Imperial Fist army, because they've got 2 new HQs that I feel like I need to own. I'm gonna do some dark highlighting there. And actually, I think I probably ought to do some dark highlighting on his eyebrows. But yeah, the Tau are really cool. I'm kind of sad that they finally created a new, very dynamic Shadow Sun right after I sold the models. But to be completely honest, they were doing literally nothing but sitting on my shelf for the past couple of years. So there was no point in me owning Tau if I was never going to play them. Hopefully yours are turning out really good, and hopefully those bears are turning out really good. I actually ended up printing another copy of the Bear Dreadnought that I printed for you, because I have a friend who's playing Space Wolves, and he really liked that model, so he's using it as a proxy for I think Murderfang. I don't remember. Either Murderfang or Bjorn the Fell-Handed. But I was pretty excited to be able to continue using an incredibly good sculpt and let other people enjoy it. Okay. Go ahead and do a little bit of blending back up a little higher. Murderfang is such a cool model. I love the fact that Murderfang is just, you know, we found this incredibly angry thing wandering a battlefield. Let's lure it into a cage and then let it out when we want a lot of death to happen. That's my understanding of his official canon, and I'm pretty okay with it. Okay, speaking of okay with it, let's hope I can do these highlights okay. Yeah, that looks like it's gonna go pretty decently. There we go. There we go. And a little bit on here, a little bit on there, a little over the top here. That should be good. I'm gonna be rude and hop off for a bit while my energy is drained out of nowhere. Okay, go do that, please. Do what you gotta do. I'm just happy to see you guys here. Please go ahead and hop off and do what you gotta do. Have a good one. Thanks for hopping on. Okay, a little bit more of this white to a, or off-white to a higher highlight. And let's see if I can really make the edges on this flask pop. I'll probably need to go up to pure white to really make that work. I've torn out my entire wardrobe onto my bed, so no sleep till the cleaning is done. Fair enough, man. Good luck with that. I hope it goes well. Okay. A little bit more for the highlight color. Get it on his facial hair. Just use little baby controlled strokes to really only hit the highlights. Oh my god, I love this mini so much. It is a great mini. And this was just the first one I picked out of the box too. I'm probably gonna start painting the other ones and just start gushing. Good night, have a good one. Thank you for joining. I'm probably gonna gush like this for every one of these models because they've just got so much personality. They're so good. I think what I actually want to do is take some of the middle blue and dilute it down a lot and use it as a wash, like a glaze, over some of the spots that were just a little bit too sharply contrasted. Hopefully that will help with some of the really dark borders that I'm getting here. And that will help clean it up and make it look a little bit less abrupt. Because that's something I'm still kind of learning, is good glazing. I'm not very good at it. I'd like to get better, so hopefully this will help me do so. Do that, go ahead and do that. Do that again with the glaze. It doesn't look like I'm glazing with enough. Maybe that's just watered down. Let's get a little bit more. Hey, how's it going? I'm really afraid of mispronouncing your name. Matsumori Kofuhara, I'm assuming. And yeah, you usually do. I have a late stream happening tonight because I planned on having Soft Servo come over and we were going to do some Turnip 28 stuff, but he had to pull out because he tried to tackle a pompous plant, and it just really gave him some bad allergic reactions. So he's at home with a ton of Benadryl, trying to not scratch all of his skin off. Call you Atsu? Okay, will do. I did take Japanese for a year in college, so other than trying to get the proper emphasis on the proper syllable, I do know the Japanese half decently. Okay, let's mix some brown in with the flesh tone. And let's go ahead and needle it into the ear to really draw in that ear. I don't think that's enough. We're gonna have to add some black to that to really create a contrasty shadow. I do not have a dark enough brown. Yeah, and it's a good name, don't get me wrong. It's just, there is a lot to it. It's kind of like trying to do my full name. A real-life legal full name. There we go. I think that'll work a little better. And then highlights on the skin. So we're going to take a little bit of this khaki. We're going to mix it in with a little bit of the skin tone, which is just kind of this horrible buttery consistency because I put way too much on there. And we're just going to do a little bit of feathering up here, and I'll eventually go lighter when the time arises. So yeah, these were minis that I was originally going to use for Turnip 28, but I like them too much, so I'm not going to kit bash them too extremely. And hopefully I'll be able to find something else. I'm actually thinking of getting one of the Squig Combat Patrols that I saw at the Games Workshop store when we were there, and using that as like my basis for my my horrible Mrs. Doubtfire parody, since it comes with a whole bunch of awful little children and some big ogres, some big cave trolls, which will look really funny in moo-moos. and I think that'll work really well as kind of a an adaptation of the Mrs. Doubtfire parody that I'm planning on doing. But right now, I'm just trying to get this guy to have some half-decent highlights. And I don't know if this is the color that I want for it. Unfortunately, the Cadian flesh tone is not mingling well with the khaki that I'm using, because I've watered it down too much. But that's okay. Let's see, can I get a little bit more in there? But I mean, like, look at this model. You've got some miniatures you could use for Turnip 28. That's kind of the point, was digging around and rooting around with what you've got and coming up with something. But I realized it was an opportunity for me to buy more miniatures, so I kind of perked up at that. Because I don't know how to manage my finances. Okay. And I think that's going to be good for the most part there. So let's go back into the dark brown and do his shoes. But yeah, kind of the beauty of it is that if you can come up with a headcanon for why your army exists, then it works. They do have some bespoke armies and suggestions in there, but they're just to kind of give you an idea of the world. You don't have to stick with them as your lore. And that's the best part. If you want to make something up entirely and give it its own bespoke characteristic, then go for it. I think Ben's original idea just isn't going to work out, so he's moved on to something else. But his new idea is pretty good. And he's got a whole bunch of minis that he already wants to use for it. So he's on his way already. Let's go ahead and do some shading of these guys. That's actually not working. I probably want to actually take some of the brown, mix it in with some of the black, and then mix it in with some of the bone colors. Sent you your first squad. Let's see what we got. You sent it. Okay, so whoops. We got a lot of things happening here. Okay, so you got an announcement somewhere. Wow, a lot of people have been promoting themselves. Oh, there I am. Hello. Okay. Ooh, those are neat. Those are super neat. I'm not sure what they are. Are those, oh man, those look like Nighthaunt. Those are Nighthaunt. Oh, you bad person. I've been wanting to collect Nighthaunt since I got into Age of Sigmar. And, I haven't been able to because I don't have the money. So the fact that you have Nighthaunt just makes me... they're from the Kings of War game? Okay, that's fair. They look so much like Nighthaunt. My god, I love ghostly minis. They're like my favorite thing in the whole wide world. But yeah, those look fantastic. The idea of like Reapers on like nightmares, it's the best. It's one of my favorite visuals. In Magic the Gathering, I play blue-white spirits for the same reason. Those are cool. I love them. I'm jealous. Unfortunately, I've kind of gotten away from Age of Sigmar and collecting that kind of stuff, specifically because One Page Rules is eventually going to do a Ghostly Undead. And when they do, I'm just going to print those models out. And hopefully, they'll look really good like the rest of the line that they've done. Because One Page Rules has really knocked it out of the park with pretty much every army they've done so far. Right now they're working on their dwarves, and their fantasy dwarves look great, but I'm kind of in love with their idea for their space dwarves. Because what they decided is they are still a mining-based group. They still do the resource thing. And to give them their distinctive beards, even through a helmet, they decided that they all have to wear these very hefty respirators. And the tubes that lead from like their face to the gas tanks are they're just so frequent and so voluminous on them that they look like industrial beards, and I kind of love it. So whenever they do that, I'm going to have to print some of those models so I can paint them. But yeah, let's actually, you know what? Why don't I just go brown with this? I can probably go that deeper brown to really drive home the dark shade underneath parts of their armor. And that will end up looking a whole lot better once I blend it in. Let's see, I'm going to do a little bit in here. And I'm just going to wash all this over with a lighter color once I get all these recesses really darkly done. And now that I'm doing this, I kind of am thinking that I could have used a wash like an intelligent person. But no, I chose violence. So these are all going to be hand-painted shades on a model that's eventually going to be so dirty that you won't be able to tell. Because I crave that kind of sauce. Go ahead and do that. And I've been using this khaki as my highlight color. So I'm going to need to go even brighter for the highlights on the edge of these tassels. Which, honestly, actually shouldn't even be that hard. Just give me a second, because I have one of my favorite colors. I have pale sand. I'm not sure if you know about pale sand, and viewers, if you don't, pale sand is a really nice warm white, and it's really good, and I love it to death. So I strongly suggest that if you do not have pale sand, that you get pale sand. I think I'll probably head swap the helmeted ones for the Votann. I don't like the dome shape of the helms. Yeah, they're fine, I guess. The only reason I like the dome shape helms is because they look like 4K resolution version of Among Us crewmates. So I really appreciate that, but I don't feel like the Votann look dwarvy enough, if you get my drift. They don't have like the distinct thick beards. And it kind of takes away from the overall dwarvy look. In fact, I think only one of their models, which is he a psyker, has an actual thick bushy beard. The rest of them kind of have tightly cropped, well kept, like short length beards, and that's fine if that's your thing. But when I think dwarves, I want dwarves, and these guys are kind of like diet dwarves. So, if I were to actually make a Votann army, I would definitely head swap them for probably 3D printed heads with great big bushy beards. They don't look right. But, like I said, for kit bashing, or for making a stupid Among Us army, they are second to none. Just chop off their hands at the wrists and go wild. I don't know if I've shown them on stream, because I definitely remember being really sick around the time that I was making them. But there's a pretty good chance that I did, and I'm just forgetting. Okay, I'm gonna paint that over with a white, or with this warm white, this not quite white. And actually, I can even do it up here. I'm gonna very lightly just hit the highlight spots on this guy's ear where the sunlight would most likely get him. Same with on the nose, like right across the bridge. And then maybe a little bit on the tip. And now he went from looking like a pretty good, decently painted dude to one with a whole lot more character built into his flesh. And I really, really like that. Same here. Let's get a little bit of highlights where the light would most likely hit his knuckles. Probably not so much there. A little bit right there. A little bit right there. A little bit more highlight. There's definitely parts where I could do more. And then I'll just water down the khaki mid-tone that I'm using. Same with the Berserkers. Probably head swap them with the Mohawk ones. See, yeah, that's what needs to happen. The Fire Slayers, right? The ones that are basically butt-ass naked from Fantasy. Or from Age of Sigmar. Yeah, those. If I were going to be making a true Votann army, I would definitely be using like the Fire Slayer heads. I'd be using 3D printed ones. I would be using pretty much everything except for the official sculpts. Because they're good, and they're restrained, but I'm not looking for restrained. I'm not looking for realistic. I want them to have humongoid bushy beards. Let's go ahead and do this. Do a little bit of highlighting here. And mayhap a little bit more. See, putting light on light tends to not show up very well. It becomes a very subtle color shift, which is going to be made even more subtle when I glaze over all of it with the midtone. But that'll be fine. Okay. A bit more up here. And I don't even know how it looks on the camera, because I know for a fact that everything comes out a little washed out on the camera. And that's because my lighting situation is what I would very generously call adequate. It's very bright, but it also washes everything out and makes it so the fine detail work is kind of hard to look at. Okay. Now let's take a little bit of the khaki. Let's add a little bit of water. Let's mix that together. A little more khaki, because that was clearly not enough. And get this down to a healthy glaze. Are you a healthy glaze? You look like a healthy glaze. And let's put that healthy glaze pretty much over the entire thing so I can dull at least a little bit that sharp delineation between the dark brown shadow and the lighter brown, or the lighter khaki of the main color, so it looks more like a shadow and less like a clumsy line. I have no idea why I'm putting this much detail into these guys, other than that I just really wanna. This is just a basic infantryman. He's probably going to get blown off the board turn 1 when I play against friends with this. But I love the personality. I love the amount of character that he has. And that should do it. Now on to the reds, which are very rapidly... oh dang. Very rapidly drying out. I'm gonna have to get more red in a second. Okay, so same thing. We're gonna kind of panel line down underneath his surcoat. Work our way through it. And just give it kind of a dark shade. And unfortunately, because I was overzealous with my base coating, I kind of lost the zenithal prime that I had done. Hey Arya, how's it going? Good to see you. I'm painting an ugly little servant or peasant man. And right now, I'm working on trying to do some of the heavier shading and shadows on him. Because even though he is not but a nameless guard, I want him to look really good before he dies in battle. Because I'm pretty sure this guy was just meant to be like an RPG guard, like an NPC townsperson. But for me, he is going to be a babysitter of Madame Guaranteed Arson's horde of brats. So hopefully I can do him justice and make him look really good. You got your wiggle. Fantastic. Congratulations. Okay. Gonna go ahead and do a little bit more of this. Do a little bit more of this. And all I'm really doing is adding a little bit of darkness to the inner legs so that no matter which way you look at him, he's simulating some degree of shadow to go with that object source lighting. Well, not object source lighting, I guess, in this case. Let me get some more red. Okay, red is gonna go back on here. And then I'm going to need... I think in this case, I'm going to go with a very bright yellow as the highlight, because to be honest, a white highlight, a pink highlight, looks kind of silly on red. But I will do that in a minute. By that I mean now, I guess. I'm gonna take a little bit of red, mix in with the yellow, hopefully get a healthy orange. Or at least a brighter orange than what I already have. And if not, I guess I'll have to do this in pink. So we're just going to do some hatches. Yeah, that orange isn't really showing up. Do some hatches to give him a little bit more light. Uh-oh, the sound file sounds like it's messing up. Are you guys getting weird chunky sound? Because I'm getting weird chunky sound. Get that McDonald's ketchup looking stuff. Sounds okay to me? Fantastic. So it's just on my end, and I'm okay with it just being on my end. Gonna get a little bit more of that. I actually think in this case, because of how generally cool tinted this is, I probably should have just gone with a pink instead of trying to get this this orangey highlight going on. Thankfully, with a couple layers, it'll brighten up real nicely and it'll look really good. Just right now, it kind of doesn't look like much. Go ahead and hit that. Get some of that. Yeah, I'm getting some weird buzzing on this end. Glad that it's not bothering you guys. That would be really annoying. Get a little bit on there, a little bit right there. Let's see. And actually, I can already kind of see the difference. It's creating a nice little warm outline around the high spots that I'm highlighting. Neat for me. Same thing up here. Create a nice highlight up here. And eventually when I shift all the way over to like a really bright orange, it will definitely show up real nicely. I basically ended up finishing the Dreadnought as far as I want to get with it without an airbrush. And actually, Atsu, I don't think you saw the Dreadnought last time. I don't remember if you were actually available or showed up. I know you hopped in at the beginning, and then I think you might have left or idled. I'm not sure which. But I 3D printed a true scale Dreadnought that is basically a combination of the Redemptor class model and an old style box knot. So I'm using him as another Ballistus Dreadnought, but I've magnetized the hell out of him. So I can basically make him whatever style of Dreadnought I want. And that just makes me obscenely happy because I don't like the Redemptor models. I think they're too big and doofy looking. Give me a second. I'll show that off very shortly. And yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm not liking how this is turning out. Okay, here we go. So, this is the lad. He's completely 3D printed. There's nothing official plastic on him. In fact, the only plastic is the base that I 3D printed. And like I said, my favorite thing about him is he's completely magnetized. The only thing that isn't is this because I was dumb. Hey, Shiny Mew Paints, thank you for the follow. But yeah, like, if I don't want him to have the missile pod, he doesn't have the missile pod. If I don't want him to have the laser, he doesn't have the laser. If he blows up in the middle of the fight, he blew up in the fight. But I'm in the process also of printing other bits because I would like to use him as a regular Dreadnought. So I've got like this limb that's also been magnetized, and he's got a an undercarriage that's been magnetized too, which I think. Not that one. Where are you? Where's the other gun arm? You're the other gun arm. And this has been magnetized, so I can just put that on there, and now he's got twin bolters. And so this way I can swap in between a Redemptor, a Ballistus, and a Brutalis Dreadnought, which is a standard, a shoot from afar, and a rip and tear version. That's the eventual plan anyway. But right now, I got so excited that I just went ahead and painted the whole thing up as a Ballistus Dreadnought. So I think my plan is going to be that I'm going to print another one of these, and then I'm just going to sell my old Redemptor and Ballistus models because I like this guy a whole lot more. Oh yeah, and his nipple guns. His little nipple guns are removable too. You found the prince and Frogman? Yes, you did. I am Frogman. Eventually, I'm going to have... Uh-oh, did this thing get stuck? Eventually, I'm going to have a fully interactive environment where I will be painting on a lily pad, and instead of it being just a little goofy looking VTuber, I'll be able to run around with him and interact with you guys, and I'll hopefully have redeems that will let you throw things at me and do other fun little bitty bobs. But I don't know how to do that yet, so that's kind of a pie in the sky dream for many moons from now. With more time and effort. So right now, what I am painting this awful little guy, and hopefully getting it so that his highlights will actually show up, because I really, really, really like this model. Thank you for the follows out of the cat. I appreciate it. This was originally going to be for a Turnip 28 army, which is I've heard it described as Warhammer Fantasy meets Monty Python. So it was meant to be kind of gross and silly and dumb. And so all of the armies in the game are kind of gross and silly and dumb. But I ended up liking the models so much that I kind of don't want to do anything with it. I just want to paint it up real nice and play it. Yeah, I mean, I'll go back in a second. I can't stop gushing about how much I love this guy. He's like an ugly baby. I mean, look at that face. Look at that face. Really didn't want to see a big old dumpy Amogus twerking. Well, I love that emote. So that is my celebratory emote for when people decide to follow. It came from a joke. There's a YouTube channel I watch called Adeptus Ridiculous, and they had a $25 tier on their Patreon, and they realized that people were buying that tier a lot, and they ran out of space for it, so they decided to create a higher tier at $50. And it didn't give them any new benefits or anything. It just gave them a different color in the Discord that they could use for their chat color, right? And almost immediately, within apparently minutes of putting that tier up, 2 people bought it. And one of the people who bought it posted in the Discord chat, "You are all beneath me," and then posted the picture or the GIF of the dumpy Amogus twerking. So, that was just the funniest thing in the world to me when I first saw it, and so I had to have it for myself. Eventually, I'll replace it with more proprietary stuff, once I kind of figure out what I want the art direction to be for my channel. But right now, I'm just kind of vibing really hard, and trying to get back to a consistent schedule of painting, so that I can really establish some regulars, because I've been on and off with the mini painting for quite a while now, and I don't feel like I'm doing it enough justice by being as inconsistent as I am. So hopefully I will be able to get a little more so. And here we have this lovely guy getting highlights that are making his clothes a little brighter, giving him a little more personality, and hopefully just making him more visually interesting to look at. Okay, gonna give him a little bit of dark brown, which hopefully I can kind of slide under his shoelaces and around his shoelaces. Speaking of, hopefully you guys heard the sound file as well for the join. I'm curious if anyone in here knows where that sound file came from. Because, again, personal humor, it was something I thought to be ridiculously funny, and so I had to have it. Got my custom splint today. I might be able to do some painting again. I think I can manage to use my holders. That is awesome, and I'm very excited for you. I'll have to hop in one sometime while you're painting, and I can see how you're doing. Because, I mean, like I said, the last time I saw you, I was like passing out on a couch. And then I wake up the next morning and hear that you've hurt yourself. So it's like, oh god! You have the older, chunkier ones? Oh, okay. Yeah, this one's really new. And honestly, the shape of it is a little odd. So I kind of wish I had some of the older ones. Like, I originally bought this one for the bigger models, and honestly, I kind of like the fatter handle. This one just feels strange, but it's what I've got. Harrowing is a great way of putting it, I feel. That was definitely an evening to experience. Thankfully, I didn't have to. I was unconscious. My poor old man brain can't stay up past like 9:30 before dying. Get a little bit more shadow in here. Get a little bit more shadow in there. And at this point, I know for anyone watching that I'm really just kind of, you know, gilding the lily, you know, not doing much helpful. It's all very minor things, but for me especially, the devil is in the details, and I really want to make a good-looking model that looks good from all angles. So I'm purposefully hitting all these tiny little bits because when you put it all together, it ends up creating a much more detailed model. Normally that was a completely new house to be around, and it did have some weird drop-offs on the porch, so I can definitely understand why a spill would happen, and a rolled ankle, and all that other unfun stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and put a little bit more light on the high spot. Put light on the high spot. Just give his leather satchel a bit more personality. Same thing with his belt. And at the same time, go a little darker, and in the spots where the light is not hitting it, have slightly darker parts to his leather belt. And again, hopefully this will all read as a cohesive source of top-down light. I think that will be okay. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, my understanding is that Atsu really flew into action there and did everything he could to make sure that you were safe and sound by the end of the evening. And what more can you ask, right? Okay. So let's go ahead and continue hitting those spots. Get some of that. And, other than, like, texturing him, actually, no, I think I want to, or putting a base down, I think he's pretty much done. I might hit him, I think I'm going to hit him with a shade, and, really dirty him up, but I don't think I really want to add a whole lot more, oh wait, no, I've got to do the metallics on top of him. I think I'm going to do that as a copper, and make it look real beat to shit. But, yeah, he's getting really close to done. I really like this model. Speaking of, let's go ahead and move on to another one then, because I had another one I was working on. I base coated him before you guys got on stream, but now I think it's time to go ahead and give him a real good shading, because I used a much fatter brush for that, a much less precise one. But he's another town guard. He's got a pig in his satchel, and unfortunately the pig doesn't look like it survived. Or that might be a cat, I don't know, but... Oh no, okay, those are eyes. I thought they were stitches. Maybe it's not a pig, maybe it is a cat. In which case I'll color him differently. And I'm gonna try and do a neat thing with the lantern. I'm gonna try and do some object source lighting, which I just realized I remembered how to do. Fantastic. That's gonna be real neat and fun to look at. But I've just gotta figure out, oh yeah, I remember what I was gonna do. Since this guy is all red and silver and metallic, I felt that was a bit monotonous, but he does have the cloak. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to match the cloak's stripes to the stripes on the surcoat of this guard. So hopefully, thank you, I appreciate it. Hopefully it will create a nice stripy feeling. Unfortunately for me, I'm not very good at freehanding. So we'll see how this ends up looking. I think we're gonna start here. Just go down. And if it doesn't look good, that's okay, it's gonna be covered in dirt. Yeah, I think I mentioned it when we were talking, but I do have aspirations of becoming a competition level painter. So once I kind of get a little bit better on the technical side here, my next goal is to get better at basing my minis and telling a story with them. Because right now, I think technically I'm pretty okay, but I need to be better. And I need to get better at really simulating the light on these guys. And eventually I will. But right now, I'm more focused on having fun little head cannons with my little guys. So let's go ahead and paint another. And this is me using one of those really fancy-pantsy Winsor & Newtons, which is actually getting a little beat up and is due for a good cleaning soon. But I'm still getting this really nice, precise line with it. There we go. And what's going to happen here is, thankfully, like I said, I don't have to be amazingly precise, simply because this is all going to get a very dirty wash, which will help with blending all of the colors together and kind of getting them unified under one specific shade. So the fact that these might be fairly inconsistent looking stripes is not going to be an issue. They're just going to look faded and worn by the time I'm done here, hopefully. Go ahead and go down. What I'm most excited about painting is probably going to be the easiest model of the group. This box came with 2 geese, and as a fan of Untitled Goose Game, I'm very excited to make them both little devils with all the mischief in the world. They're also pewter minis or whatever, like these guys are. So they've all got some great and I'm very excited to get to them for the painting, but I'm just trying to get through all the guards first. So A, I can be done with them, and B, so I can kind of get a feel for painting metal minis before I paint the ones I really care about. I've already Zenithal primed them all, so I'll just have to see how that turns out. And actually, you will be going around to the front, as will you, apparently, right under there. There we go. So yeah, one moment. These 2 models are the reason I bought the box. I love these guys so much. We've got this one, which is, he's actually part of the guard. He's got a little breastplate and everything. But I mean, this is just a fantastic looking mini. He's angry and he's got his wings out because he's ready to attack. He's going to end up being painted like a Canadian goose, because my wife told me that Canadian geese are the ones that are known for being ornery and mean-spirited. So I can't wait to have this guy just, you know, bearing down on whatever awful things that he may encounter in his campaigns. And this one is just straight the goose from Untitled Goose Game. He stole a helmet, he stole a bell, and he's very proud of himself. So he's just going to be painted straight white with some probably blue shading to kind of bring out his plumage. But yeah, I love these models, and I cannot wait to paint them. But they are going to be last to give me something to look forward to, as opposed to the first thing that I paint, and then I kind of get bored with everything else. What else? What did I just work on? Oh, I just did that. Okay. So let's give these stripes another once over. Probably with a deeper color of blue. I'm gonna mix some black in there, and let's see if that actually does anything to the blue. Oh, it does a whole lot to the blue. It gives the blue dimension. It gives the blue contrast. It makes it more blue. Okay, also makes it a little thicker, so it definitely spreads better on the cape. Now, unfortunately, I have not been blessed with the ability to paint a straight line, so it has not made them any straighter. Let's hope. I don't have much to hope for, to be honest. It's gonna look great. I already know it's gonna look great. But let's hope that when I dirty this thing up and put it under a whole bunch of mud, it'll look better than great. Okay, a little bit there. And honestly, what I'm most excited about with these guys, I didn't get to do it too much on the Mustachioed Gentleman, is painting faces. I'm not going to claim I've gotten real good at it, but I've definitely gotten a lot more practice in painting faces and painting skin. And for me, it's been just an absolute joy to put those tools to the test and to make far more dynamic, far more interesting looking faces. And I used a different color for skin on this guy. Instead of using Cadian Flesh Tone, because I hated how it turned out on the other guy, I used Rose Brown by Vallejo on him. And you can pretty much see that he's a much pinker complexion. And that's okay. I'm not too worried about it, because I'm going to go darker with some of my shadows, and I'm going to go brighter with my highlights. And actually, I think I can make out eyes on this guy. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to risk it for the biscuit, and I'm actually going to paint some eyes on him. But because this is meant to be an awful land full of dirt and roots, he is not going to have pure white eyes. He is going to have pale sand, so that he looks just a little bit yellowed and jaundiced. And let's see if I can actually get them. Oh, there it is. I got it. I did it. Let's see if I can get this one. I can't believe they were able to make a mold that had... Oh man, that's pretty. That's lovely. That's awesome. I can't believe they were able to make a metal mold that had that level of detail to it. That just blows my mind. Okay, so we want this guy to look a little sickly. He's been living on nothing but like horrible protuberance and roots, so he's going to look a little bit grossed out. We can't have clean-looking, healthy-looking individuals. So he's going to get a little bit of this warm khaki tone to his fleshy skin and his big knobby nose. And he's going to get a little bit on his eye, a little bit on his cheek. Basically, any of the high spots I can see, this guy is getting this ugly highlight. Hey, Swedish Muppet Guy, welcome back. I finished, for the most part, painting the little bushy mustached town guard, and now I'm moving on to this very nasty sneering town guard, and I'm working on getting the highlights done on his skin, because I'm very happy that I was able to get his eyes with this tiny little brush tip, and now I'm going to move on to just making his skin look absolutely disgusting. I don't know if you saw the other guy, but I'm pretty happy with how he turned out. He's got an adequate amount of like contrast and depth on him. Not much cleaning done at all. Took all my measurements one extra time. Realized I won't be able to make my room in the way I wanted to. Well, that's upsetting. I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully, you managed to find a solution to the problem, and you're able to make it work out. But yeah, so this guy's pretty much done. He's got... I lost my morale, now I just went to bed. That's fair. Sometimes you just need to rest on it. Sleep on it, and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I think he's about done. I don't think I really want to do too much more to him tonight. Thank you. He's eventually going to get a deep coat of like Agrax Earthshade or some other horrible dirty color to make him look thoroughly disgusting. But right now, he's just going to look like that, and I'm probably going to get some nice pictures before I do anything with it. So now I'm working on this angry sneering guard, and I'm just working to get some highlights done on him to really bring out the features on his face, because something I've read and seen and heard is that one of the first things that people are drawn to are the face. So when you're painting a mini, if he has a face, you're going to want to make it brighter and more dynamic than you would otherwise. So he is getting a whole bunch of highlights to his skin to really make his face stand out. I don't even know if he's yes, the liquid skill. I know, right? It kind of sucks that now that I've gotten a little bit better at the whole painting thing, I tend to stay away from shades just because I can't really control where they're going, so I don't like them as much. They end up creating very messy looking shadows on the minis that don't quite match up. So I tend to only use them when I'm like speed painting or trying to get an army done really quickly. With most of my minis now, I just go ahead and shade it manually, which I'm not very good at yet. So it just forces me to practice. Some more here. Yeah, I gotta say, the sculpting and posing of this model is absolutely fantastic. This was a good purchase. This was a nice palette cleanser after doing nothing but Warhammer. The problem with painting faster than light is you always exist in darkness. Fair enough, I guess. I used to speed paint a lot, and I used to be really good at pumping out a ton of models really quickly. And kind of realized I wasn't having as much fun as I used to. And while my models did look pretty good, I wanted them to look better. Because, you know, once you get past the speed painting phase of mini painting, everything becomes diminishing returns, right? Gonna lurk for a little bit? That's perfectly okay. Thanks for popping in. Oh, Red Mario God, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Speaking of, I accidentally hit over 100 followers last stream, and that means I gotta do something special. So I've got to figure out a mini to purchase that I can paint on stream, and solely on stream, so you guys aren't missing out on it, and just really go to town with it. And just make him like my special 100 follower mini. That is a really cool emote, and I kind of love it. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, but I want it to be dumb. That's become like my one decree, is that it's either going to have to be big and awesome, or big and stupid. And when I get some money, it's probably going to be the next thing I buy, even though I do have a lot of other things I want to get. That's going straight to the top of the list. So if you guys have any suggestions on what horrible thing I could paint for my 100th follower, I'm all ears. At one point, I was considering getting a Great Unclean one and putting a Gretchen face on it and turning it into Gratsuo from Akira, but I haven't gotten there yet, and I don't think I want to spend that much money right now. So I'm just going to keep hemming and hawing until eventually I come up with something. I do have a 3D printer. I have an Elegoo 8K. Oh, yeah, no, thank you for reminding me. I had an idea. I had an idea of what I could 3D print, especially since the model was free. But I want to hear what you got. Oh, that poor... I don't know what the heck is... I'm going to have to look at that with a magnifying glass, because I really cannot tell what's in the pouch. I thought it was a pig at first that he, like, killed and subdued, but the more I look at it, the more I realize it looks kind of like a cat. There are multiple files for Great Unclean ones. Yeah, but those take a ton of resin. They're not solid, and I've thought about doing it, but they are incredibly big. Like, I'll probably look at it, because I've got them saved. And my thing is that I don't want to paint a Great Unclean one. I want to paint a Great Unclean one's body with a Grot's head horrifically attached to it, so it looks like Tetsuo at the end of Akira. That's my goal. I want it to be nightmare fuel, because it's going to be proxying a Morkan or a Gorkanaut in my pop culture orc army that I am calling the Fanboys. Because I'm pretty sure I showed you the Akira slide war leader that I did, or war boss that I did on the trike. And my eventual plan is to make a full army based off of pop culture references like that. So like my next orc model that I really want to get is going to be a shock jump dragster that I'm going to paint like Speed Racer. And eventually I'm going to do a Daka jet that's going to look like the stunt plane from The Rocketeer, which is kind of a deep cut. But that's all like long-term plans. I don't have the money to get those things. Though, honestly, if I did paint a Great Unclean one, since I do have... I'd love to turn a Great Unclean one into a Great Clean one with a Homer face on it. Good lord. My buddy Soft Servo suggested that I put it in like a fedora and give it a milady hat and give it one of those umbrella katanas and a big old plate of tendies and then make it into a Redditor. I kind of wanted to go the opposite way. I wanted to put it. I wanted to offer a promotion of your channel. Prices. No, that's okay. I appreciate the offer, but that's fine. I don't want to pin the message. How do I get? Okay. I don't need a promotion. I appreciate it. But yeah, I was gonna put him in like a diaper and make it so that he had a blowout in the back, so it was just this horrible brown stain. And I was going to get Soft Servo to make me a soundboard so that whenever I put him on the table, he would just go, and hopefully that would intimidate my opponents to not want to play with me and just fold, and then I could win by default. I don't think that's ever going to happen because that would require me to spend a whole lot of money and a whole lot of time doing things that I'm not comfortable doing yet. But I did really just want to make it horrifically uncomfortable to look at. And actually, if you give me a second, once I finish detail painting his face, I can show you the Orc War Boss or Def-Killa War Trike that I've done in the style of Akira, which kind of spurred the whole thing. Because I know a lot of people will do like a Volkswagen Beetle in the form of orcs, but I wanted to be special. So give me a second. Give me a second. Nope, that's OBS too. That is what. Uh-oh. What's happening? There we go. Image slideshow. Get rid of those reference shots because those are no longer there. Goodbye. Add files. Pictures. Da-da. Gotta change their name because they're no longer the Yarn Spinners. They are now the Fanboys. Live at Orcs. There we go. These 4 pictures should do it. And yeah, that'll just loop. We'll put you right here and boom. So this was the Akira style Def-Killa War Trike I did. I even got him doing the Akira slide, so his back end is kind of lifted up, that he's being propped up with like armature wire. But that was my idea, and I'm really happy with how the dang thing turned out, and I can't wait to do more is kind of where I'm at. So hopefully I'll be able to, and it's going to look fantastic. But I need money that I'm not spending on Imperial Fists. Okay, let's see. I haven't gotten any. We're having trouble getting a page. I don't want my pages back. I just want to go to Facebook real quick. You weirdos. Okay, no, she's still going. That's fine. Okay, so I think I can say his face is adequately. Not quite adequately, but it's getting. Oh, that's really wet. It's getting close. His face is getting close to being properly highlighted. So, gonna add just a little bit more to really draw out that awful look. A little bit across there. Over there. Okay. Mix that back in with his flesh tone a bit to lighten it up, create a nice little blend. There we go. Blend that back down. Yeah, I accidentally went a little too bright there, so we're going to blend that back down a little bit to his... There we go. And very subtle, but I think it'll do. The next thing, I suppose, is going to be to give his shoulder pads or his clothing a little bit more highlight to them, because right now they're very dark without a whole lot else going on. Love the look of that trike. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It was a very fun project to do, and it was one of the first big, like, I hate to call it a kitbashy project, but one of the first big kitbashy projects I did, given that all I really did with him was attach some plastic card to the front, so that it had more of the silhouette of the bike from Akira, and lifted it a little bit with some paper clips. But I had a lot of fun doing it, and I can't wait to do more awful things to more orc vehicles. So hopefully I will get there sooner rather than later. But I do know that any and all financial assistance I can get is going to go straight back into the hobby. Like, I've got 2 people who are subscribed on you're not sure what Akira is, but it looks cool. Oh wow, okay. Akira, also known as Akira, depending on how you pronounce it, is one of the most influential Japanese animes ever. It was, I think, the film, which is based off of a manga, was made in like the late 80s, and it's become so iconic and so influential for all of Japanese animation. Give me a second, because I can show you Akira. Like, he is, he's been referenced in video games and movies. The infamous Akira slide, the bike slide, is iconic. I'm working on building some Beast Snaga boys for a Mad Max themed army. That sounds pretty darn cool. So this is Akira. I would be honestly very surprised if you've never seen any of this imagery before. What made it so beautiful and amazing is that the anime was meticulously hand painted. So like the building shot next to yeah, right, Tetsuo, them screaming back and forth. And of course in the original dub it was Kaneda, not Kaneda, because they were pronouncing it how they thought it was pronounced. But like the building shot underneath the chat, each of those like lights were meticulously painted on as a background shot, and they did some really awesome parallax scrolling. Gonna do 20 of them, and I'm gonna buy a Shock Jump Dragsta and kit bash it like crazy. That sounds like a lot of fun. So yeah, Akira is incredibly important to anime. It's incredibly important to pop culture. The shot of Tetsuo with his arm exploding is iconically famous. The bike slide right next to it, like I said, is incredibly famous. It's one of the most famous shots in all of anime. The next one over, well, it looks like that giant pulpy mass. That's Tetsuo losing control of his psychic powers and just kind of imploding in on himself, which is an extension of what's happening here. It's like a 2-hour movie. It's pretty visceral and gross and horrifying, but it's really good. They managed to take like an incredible amount of manga and turn it into an incredible movie. The music is a combination of like traditional Japanese percussion and vocal effects and a bunch of other things. It's an entire mood, and it's entirely unique in and above itself. I don't really know how much more I can say about it, other than that, if you're an anime fan, it's one of those things that you've got to watch before you die. You know what I mean? Okay, let's see. Back to painting this guy. That's kind of the best description I can give of Akira. It's just played such an important role in Japanese animation and impacting Japanese animation that it's in any animation actually, that it's kind of hard to ignore. And I'm not saying like it's got to be your favorite movie or that you have to say it's the greatest movie ever or anything. Just that its impact is just undeniable in terms of that medium of entertainment. If it wasn't for the fact that I know I'd get copyright struck, I'd probably play a little bit of it just so you could see it. Because it's a beautiful piece of work. The animation is gorgeous, the movie is gorgeous, the music, everything about it is gorgeous. It's just an incredibly well-made movie. Anyway, just gonna go back to highlighting this guy. I think I might be going a little strong with the highlight. Sounds cool, not a massive fan of anime at all personally, but I'll keep it in mind. Well, that's okay. You don't have to be. You don't have to watch it. Just if you do like anime, it's a place to go. It came out in the late 80s and was designed with a completely different sensibility in mind to modern anime. And it lacks a lot of the tropes that make anime in general kind of tiresome to watch if it's not your thing. But it is a seminally important movie to that medium. So yeah. That's about what I can say. It could be a good starting point. It'll set the bar really high. That's the best way I can put it. Actually, you know what? I wonder if I can find a bit on YouTube, because I haven't seen the movie in a while. Akira opening sequence, bike sequence. In Ultra HD. Wow. I'm not going to watch this entire thing with you guys, but at least One Punch Man, Howl's Moving Castle and such. One Punch Man is great because it subverts a lot of anime tropes. Like there's a style of anime called shonen anime, which is boys anime, and it's usually about superheroes. It's stuff like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, One Piece, where you've got like a heroic protagonist who goes on and solves all of his problems with fighting. And Howl's Moving Castle is Miyazaki. Yeah, Howl's Moving Castle, yes. Howl's Moving Castle is an adaptation of a book, and it's a really good adaptation of the book. It's really good. It wasn't my thing when I first saw it, but I've grown to really like it as I've gotten older, because Miyazaki, even though he makes anime, he's an artist. He's kind of like what Pixar used to be, but for Japanese animation. Princess Mononoke is another good one. Spirited Away is very commonly recommended. But yeah, here, one moment. Let me turn off the epidemic, and let me risk getting copyright struck here. But this is a sequence that you need to see. Window capture. Oh, good. It's perfectly sized, I think. Okay, let's see. Nope, we don't need any of that. Don't need any of that. Don't need any of that. Okay, Akira. So it's just a really good way to understand why so many people are so passionate for anime, and know that not all of it is as bad as some anime can be. You know what I mean? Okay. What am I doing? Let's turn the sound back down to there, so that way the music isn't overwhelming. Let's go ahead and go back to this thing, shall we? So I think next, I don't know what I want to do for him leg, because his legs are still really dark in comparison to the Rex. Yeah, I know, right? If you are a person who enjoys animation, it's one of those things that you need to get into, or at least see to appreciate. Like, the example I always give is The Godfather, as a movie that people should watch even if they don't care about mob movies or don't care about The Godfather. Because I don't care about mob movies. I don't care about The Godfather. But the movie is just such an incredibly well-executed, well-crafted movie. Howl's Moving Castle and Spirited Away are two of my favorites. That's because those are also certified bangers. Miyazaki rarely misses. And what's kind of wonderful about his storytelling is he doesn't do it in a traditional Western way. His movies are kind of like explorations. Because all the stuff people recommend, it's all the same storyline and it all looks the same. Yeah, I mean, that tends to be the case with a lot of popular anime today, is they know what their audience wants, and so it does get kind of cookie-cuttery. Howl's Moving Castle is based off of I think it's a British woman. It's her novel. And it's this beautiful little story. Dudes with muscle, smaller dude beats them, ta-da. Yeah. It's become part of the trope, and it's not necessarily very fun. And unfortunately, because that's what people like, that's what you see a lot of. Dragon Ball Z, in particular, kind of made life very difficult for shonen anime to be taken seriously. But yeah, no, Akira is not at all like that. Akira is a self-contained story about a group of people dealing with a tragedy. It's really good. And Howl's Moving Castle, I can't say enough how great that movie is, just because it's so atypical for anime. Same with Spirited Away. There's a reason why it's a lot of people's first introduction to anime at a young age, because it's just universally such a good movie. Yeah, Howl's is beautiful. It's a really well made movie. Miyazaki, like I said, he's an artist. He is a craftsman who, for the longest time, has been very, very good at what he's done. I have gone way too bright with my highlights on this guy, and so now I need to work on lowering them back down. Because unfortunately, if they are this bright, they're just going to look garish, and that's not what I want. But yeah, I think that's kind of what got me into anime, was realizing that it's not all the same thing. It's just that the stuff that becomes popular tends to get samey. So if you're able to find your niche, then it can be a great place to be. But if it all just kind of starts looking rote, then that's when you need to take a step back and find something else. Yep, glaze time. Something I'm not very good at, because I never learned how. I'm trying my best. And this is definitely one of those times where I really do get to learn a skill that I probably should spend a lot more time practicing. So hopefully this light red glaze I'm putting... Oh no, I got it on his hand! This light red glaze I'm putting on will knock it down. It looks like it did. Looks like it did an okay job. Unfortunately, this guy doesn't have a whole lot going on for him outside of trying to, you know, zhuzh up the cloak a little bit. So I think I'm going to have to find spaces to create shadow and create contrast and work on that. I can hear my cats running around upstairs. I adopted a stray, and my previous cat, who was also an adopted rescue, is finally warming up enough to him that they're willing to play together. So I am just hearing an incredible amount of shenanigans going on upstairs. I've learned that blending with black and white is tons easier, so I end up just doing that than doing a thin paint on top. Yeah, that is called grisaille painting, I believe. And it generally used to be a way for painters to save money, because they weren't using all their pigments with the shading. They would just do a color or a volume theory. I can't remember what it's called. A volume sculpt, a volume whatever, where they would do it all in black and white, and then they would go ahead and hit it with the colors they need to, but in a very thin veneer. And since it had all of the volume underneath it, they were able to just use that to create the blend. It's also called slap chopping, is the more popular modern name, because a YouTuber called it that, and it kind of got picked up. And I think slap chop is fantastic. My cat's not very happy with other cats, sadly. She likes being an only child. Both of mine were rescues. One of them was from a big box store, because a previous partner kind of fell in love with it. And then it didn't end well, and she ended up leaving the relationship for various other reasons. But I didn't feel right putting the cat back up for rescue, because even though I personally didn't want a cat, I also didn't want to abandon a cat. So I kept her, and just kind of slowly grew to love the little girl. And it definitely helped that when I met my wife, and she came over and visited, the first thing the cat did was sit in her lap and be like, this is a good one. She is not like the other one. She is a keeper. So, I was very happy to see that. And she's just slowly become this adorable little cuddle monster that craves attention at all times, that I am very happy to give. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do that. But we got this new cat that we found in the engine block of a truck of a neighbor's, and it's taken her a little while to warm up to that cat. But now that she has, they've got this great little brother, older sister relationship. My mom got some kittens, and Donna didn't like them too much, so my mom asked if I wanted to take her in. Donna is my cat, by the way. Yeah, I figured. Well, I'm glad that at the very least it ended up working out for you. Some cats just don't like being around other cats. I definitely get it. If they grew up solitary, then they want to stay solitary. But yeah, I'm more of a dog person,
but I say that with the full knowledge that I have more cats than I do dogs, and I love them to death, so I guess I'm just a pet person, and I like pets. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I especially like that Donna herself came from randomly walking into my mom's ex-summer cabin. That's pretty funny. I do love the fact that cats just kind of find their owners. They're like, you, I like you. You're gonna feed me now. It's one of my favorite thing about them is just how fiercely independent yet dependent they are. It's a very cute dichotomy. Okay, we're gonna paint that. We're gonna paint that. And actually, as goofy as it is, this guy, I think he's gonna need a lot more work done on him just for shading and volume. But I'm not really sure what else to do with him other than creating a little bit more separation in a lot of spots and eventually painting over this horrible pig cat thing that I kind of messed up on. He's got fairly decent coverage everywhere. So yeah, I think the next thing is just going to be to continue working on highlights and blending. We had the door open one day, all of a sudden there was a cat laying on the couch. Very pregnant, and we carried her outside, and she just strutted right back. Yeah, that cat just chose you. Fairly typical with the kittens. Once they decide that you're theirs, you are theirs. Poor thing been pregnant as heck too. That kind of stinks for it. Okay, I need more of a light shade. I can kind of really highlight parts of it. She ended up being a stray kitten from a farm a mile down the road. Poor thing. Well, at least now it's got a good home. Yeah, we recently found actually another cat roaming the neighborhood that we're pretty sure is either the father of or another older sibling of our stray that we found. And based on some of the things said in our neighborhood Facebook group that we kind of lurk in, he's apparently well known for strutting about, and the poor thing was pregnant at like 10 months old. That's really unfortunate. That seems way too young. Tuna, which is our youngest stray that we found, I think is just now 16 or 17 weeks old. And we found them in an engine block. So hopefully they're enjoying life with us a whole lot more. And the only real proof I have for that, other than that, you know, the love and the affection, is that every time I open the door to take our dog out, and it sees that we've opened the door, he just immediately sprints further into the house. Like, you're not putting me back out there. And I think it's the funniest thing in the world. Okay, I need more light because this is just becoming water. There's a little bit more of that khaki into there. Yeah, he is really cute. He's also really dumb because he's still learning everything, and watching him have absolutely zero fear in very dangerous situations is very silly. It took a while for our other rescue from the previous relationship, Trixie, to really kind of accept him. And for a while she was just like, you're not coming into this house. This is my house. These are my people. And so every time he would go up to her, she would just slap him really hard in the head. And eventually, she kind of, I think now they've gotten used to each other, so now they're friends, and she's just kind of teaching him the ropes and being a whole lot more patient with him than she used to be a few weeks ago. One of my favorite things, though, is he'll try and go up to her and play fight her, and if she's just not in the mood or if she's irritated, she'll look at him, and then she'll meow at him, and then she'll just go ahead and grab him by the head and throw him down and then punch him until he runs away. I don't know if Atsu's still here. I have no idea how many people are still in this chat, in this stream. But yes. Well, I mean, he eventually gets up and he gives just as good as he receives, so it's not like it's a one-sided bully fight. which makes it even funnier because then I just get to watch two very tiny cats fight each other. Trixie was a runt of a litter, very clearly, because she's a couple years old now and she's kind of topped out at like 7 pounds. And Tuna is, I think, maybe 3.5 right now. Let's see. So it's fun watching them kind of get along with each other and interact. I can probably go even lighter than that. You're pretty sure your kitty was a runt too? I remember seeing pictures of them. They were very tiny. But I like smaller animals, to be honest. I like the fact that Trixie was a runt, and I think Tuna's going to end up being bigger than her, and that kind of makes me sad. I want Tuna to remain tiny and doofy looking. Yeah, both Arya and Atsu, they both paint as well. Arya's been at this a lot longer than I have. They've been playing Warhams for many more years than I have. But I kind of went the opposite way. Instead of playing the game, I spend a lot of my time painting. And Arya's got some really awesome paints and models that she showed when we visited. She has a really cool looking Be'lakor that she brought. I appreciate the compliment. I think I've just had a whole lot more time to be horrifically obsessed with this. Now, I can't tell, is that just a sheen, or did I accidentally get some white paint on his knee? I think I just got some white paint on his knee. Yeah, the Be'lakor is beautiful. I love the paint job you got on that Be'lakor. He's so cool looking. Not to talk for them, but their main army right now is Eldor. Oh, Diablocor, that's right. I almost forgot that you did a very Diablo thing. Speaking of, I'm sorry I haven't gotten back to you on it, Arya, but I know that I volunteered to print Lilith for you, and that offer is still on the table, but I don't have any resin and I don't have any money, so we're gonna have to wait a bit. I'll let you know as soon as I do, and then we can kind of work out however much you're willing to, yeah, especially since you're trying to rehab that wrist. But I'm very excited to get that thing to you, because that's going to be really fun content for your channel. Actually, I think I'm starting to get pretty broke because of the American healthcare system. Yeah, F the American healthcare system, man. The American healthcare system sucks. I'm kind of in that same boat. I'm not broke because of it, but I did have an HSA through my sweet government healthcare as a school teacher, and the HSA, the health savings account, because of 2 procedures, was basically wiped out after almost 10 years of saving. So I went from having what I thought was a modest amount of money in the HSA, and then the 2 procedures, even after getting, you know, the copay done, still ended up wiping out almost that entire account. So I can't get sick again. I feel beyond bad for you guys with your healthcare system. I didn't realize how bad it was until I started hearing what the norm was for other countries, especially in Europe, and then I got really sad really fast. America really is just like, well, why don't you just die then? And it's like, I wanna live. And then we've got people who are like legitimately believe in the boogeyman answer of maligns in Europe, but that's a whole nother thing. I don't want to whinge too much about politics right now. What I do want to do is I'll show you pictures of my cat, because I'm almost done. I'm at a point right now where I'm starting to get a bit of a headache. Good evening, Captain Starlord. I'm sorry that you came on right as I was kind of finishing up what I was working on. Give me a second and I'll show what I've been working on. Can you post links in chat? You definitely can. If you have health problems, like kind of serious ones, I honestly think you save money by moving to Sweden. It feels like it. But yeah, definitely. Please post links in chat. I would love to see the neat things that you have to show, because I can just display the winder. Let's see real quick. I don't know. I don't want the Warhams, guys. I meant to... okay, so this is definitely not minis, and that's fine. But I have pictures of my cat that I can show you guys, because I have a cat. Nope, that's the wrong one. I have pictures of her as a tiny little baby. I have pictures of him as a slightly larger baby. And I have probably my favorite picture of him, which was taken because one of my friend's daughters knitted him a cap. And then it didn't fit him. But because he was just so amazingly trusting of us and so amazingly patient, he let us squeeze it on his head and then just kind of let himself be held while he had this horrible, stupid, like too small cap on his head. Okay, I think that one is the first one, and that might work. Your little nurse kitty. Let's see what we got. Media's. Oh, look at the baby. Let me see. Window capture. That one, and we'll go with that right there. Look at the little baby. Hopefully they've been treating you real well as you deal with that wrist injury. Okay, one moment. I have image slideshow. So those are way too big. Please calm down. Please settle down, computer. You don't need to have your image be that big. I'm glad that she's taking good care of you. Small. There we go. That's small. Of course it started there. Okay, so that's the picture of Tuna when we first got Tuna, right? That was Tuna when he was a wee little baby tater tot and he was like 12 weeks old, 14 weeks old. That picture is Tuna more recently. He is continuing to get longer and continuing to get bigger. And this is Tuna when we put the hat on him that was clearly way too small for his head. And he was incredibly patient with us. So those are my cat. But anyway, one moment. Captain Star-Lord, good to see you again. I'm not working on Warhammer tonight. I was working on something else. I recently got these minis from a company called oh my goodness, what are they called? I'm having a brain fart. Give me a second. Northumbrian Tin Soldier is what they're called. Northumbrian Tin Soldier. Diablocore. Let's get this one posted because it's so worth seeing. Well, bam! Look at that mini. Look at the job that Aria did on that mini. Tell me that thing does not slap hard. That's a good mini. But yeah, I love the flame work. I love just the fact that you got those great little like lava bits on there. Is a really cool mini. We got another Diablocore. We got Diablocore's butt. Let's look at Diablocore's butt. Yeah, there we go. You live near Northumbria? That's really funny. That's really funny. What great coincidence. Then you need to see these minis. Yep, there's Diablocore's butt. I really love the flame effects you got on the scales. Those look so good. I mean, like, look at that. That's a really cool burning effect. So these were called Northumbrian Tin Soldier, and they make these great looking minis that they're not like Warhammer-esque. They're very caricatured, and they've got a whole ton of detail on them, even though they're like little tin soldiers. And I've been painting this guy and doing like detail work on him to get him up real nice. And I love these models, and I originally bought it because the guards came with 2 geese, and I wanted those geese. But now that I'm painting the other models, I'm having a lot of fun because they've just got so much personality, and there's just, you know, so much to them. So these are what I've been working on this evening. I kind of started late just because I anticipated having company over, and it didn't end up happening. But yeah, I just wanted to get these guys done, and I've shown it off a couple times already, but I don't care. I'm doing it again. Here are the 2 geese that it came with. We've got this really angry one that I'm eventually going to paint as a Canadian geese because my wife told me they are really, really like ornery and mean. And this one is definitely the goose from Untitled Goose Game. He stole someone's hat. He's got the bell. So he's going to be pure white. He looks like he's wearing Obelix's top from Asterix. He does, doesn't he? I'm pretty sure it comes from the same era because some of the outfits are very clearly Roman inspired. Like this guy is wearing a Lorica Segmentata, and he's definitely got like a Roman helm. So I'm not surprised that they went with that. Aw, there's your kitty again. Okay, one more picture of the kitty. Kitty. You were hoping I'd do one as a Canadian goose? I can't not. They're mean little fuckers, and so we need to have them represented. And so, of course, like I said, it's got to be this one. He's so angry. He's got a breastplate and everything. He's ready for violence. He is screaming for violence. He needs the violence, so he's going to be the Canadian goose. And to give another idea of the detail in these minis, all of them are pewter. And like this one in particular, he's supposed to be, I guess, an ogre guard. And so he's got like a halfling that's spilled the coin purse. But he was in pieces. His hand, his other hand, his head, all of the armor. These were all separate parts that I had to pin on when I super glued them just so they don't fall apart. But yeah, I love these minis so much. They've got so much character. They've got a few women guards too that I think are really neat. So like these two ladies, again, all the personality in the world. I really like these guys. I love the substantial feeling of the metal minis, but I agree with you, Arya. I'm not gonna feel too much remorse that we moved away from metal minis. I think I showed earlier in the stream, someone was asking about like D&D minis to get started with, and I showed them these two Plague Doctor minis that I painted a while ago. I kind of want to strip and redo them because I've gotten so much better at it, and these ones clearly have some issues with them. But oh, you posted pictures of Donna. Where are they? Okay. Oh, did you post them in the Discord? Oh, you did. Oh, Donna's a black cat. Does Donna have heterochromia, or is one of Donna's eyes a little bit gimpy? Pardon my lack of like proper wording there. Oh yeah, those are great pictures of your beautiful cat. I'm gonna open them up in the browser and then I will throw them up on the screen. Heterochromia, cool, I got it. I was right. Window capture, bam. There's Donna. And there you can see the heterochromia, which looks really cool because of how different cat eye. Whoa, sorry guys. Because of how different cat eyes are from like human eyes. And then you've got this picture of Donna. Trixie is a black short hair, so this is a visage I'm very used to seeing. This one might be my favorite. What did you say? And then you got this one of Donna derping out really hard. So very cute. I love cats. But yeah, so I was doing these, and I was showing off, like, Vet never said anything about it impairing her sight. That's really cool. And I was definitely trying to prove to this person that metal minis are not the way you want to go. Because, like, these are plastic minis, right? They're made from a decent light plastic. They're very light in the hand. And probably the best thing about them is they're a whole lot more durable. If I were to drop them, other than the paint probably scuffing, they're perfectly fine. Like, nothing breaks, right? But I would be very scared to do the same thing with this guy because I'd be worried about pretty much any part on him snapping off. Just because the pewter is a much more fragile metal because of the extra weight from the impact. So, yeah, I do not envy or regret the fact that we have moved to plastic minis. Especially after having to work with resin 3D printed minis for so long. Okay, it's 9:43 on my end. I've been streaming since about 7, I think. And I think it's about time for me to go. I've had a really long day. I've been up since 4:45. High school is, like, doing the high school teaching thing at the beginning of the year was really tough. 3:43 a.m. Good lord. You need to go to bed. So, I think I am going to raid just to give you guys something else to look at if you want, but you need to go to bed. Please go to bed. I keep forgetting to raid because I'm not used to having people here to make a raid worthwhile. So, I'm going to go ahead and raid. I'm going to... That's a TikTok. I don't want a TikTok. No, I don't want a TikTok. That's going to get copyright struck. Instead, what I want to do is let's find... Oh, Rubber Ross is streaming. If you guys know Rubber Ross or don't know Rubber Ross, he's really cool. And who else is streaming? Oh, Barry's streaming.
Charger, rear view camera, a moon.
Do we have anyone else tonight? No one I'm watching. We got. Let's go about with Barry because Barry's a lot of fun.
Wow.
So let's go /raid.
Okay, well, right now.
I think it's just Barry.
Right, but I want to do more, you know what I mean?
Is it just Barry?
I'm thinking about going for leads.
Yeah, he's just Barry.
Yes!
Let's go and read Barry.
I know, because are you gaming on a Chrome?
Okie dokie. Well, thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it. I will see y'all later, hopefully tomorrow, and have a good evening, guys. Bye-bye.
Right now. And stuck in the victim's chest on purpose after his death. We have a crafty murderer on our hands here.